All right. So now we're live.
Hey guys.
So we just did an entire call without you. We were live. It was awesome. It was great. You missed a bunch, but we'll send you the recording. No, just really quick, guys. Wow. Thank you so much, guys and gals. You're listening to the Provoke Coach podcast. So this is our fourth installment, our fourth episode. And wow, I have somebody that you guys are going to absolutely love. Okay. So this guy is, how do I want to put it? A jack of all trades when it comes to sales, when it comes to management, when it comes to leadership, but also this unique ability to be able to give back to a community, and a community of different types of animals. And what I mean by this is these are really sales professionals. And these are people that, with things like COVID, came up and knocked everybody down to where they really had to change and pivot the type of business that they did. You know, Moose and his team were already kind of doing this and doing this for a while, and really quite successful when it was just a thing. And I remember, you know, I had a good contract with a company a while back, I think a few years ago, and the company really wanted to go remote. And I thought running a sales team and running a sales force and holding people accountable on a remote sales basis, I was scared. I'll be honest with you, I was scared. So here I have, guys. Yeah, this guy, Moose Reed, I reached out to him because I followed him and his company for quite some time. And they have not only, I've been able to surround myself with wonderful sales closers, but wonderful companies that have learned to pivot and have learned to grow and really grow at a time to where we need them to grow. Because we all know that sales professionals in sales pros in any industry is quite not only lucrative, but really kind of a staple in this economy. So Moose, tell us who you are and where you come from. How do we find more people like you, Moose? I sold it.
I appreciate you having me here, man. It's awesome been getting to know you for the last couple months. Excited for us to continue to work on projects together and continue to grow together, man. Thanks for having us. But yeah, gosh, who am I? I'm just a pretty normal guy. I've been in sales for the last 10 years of my life, last 11 years of my life now. I'm 30 years old. When I was 19 years old, I started in timeshare. I grew up in a timeshare family. My father was a director of sales for Wyndham. My mother was in marketing for Wyndham, and really grew up in a sales family. Found myself needing to start a career path at a young age. Dropped out of college, got started in timeshare sales, had some success, and now here I am 10 years later running about 300 sales guys who are doing about 45 million in sales annually. So it's kind of cool.
Unreal. Yeah. Let's talk about, like, I mean, obviously you're built for sales, right? You've kind of learned over the years, both, you know, so socially, right? You know, by your surroundings because of your environment that you were in, but also you kind of have this unique ability, you know, to get people to trust you and to like you. Like, where did it, I mean, like, what part of, I guess, your career growing up did you say, you know what, this is something for me?
Gosh, good question, man. So I'll answer it in a couple different parts, right? As far as getting people to trust me, etc. You ever see the movie Jerry Maguire?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
One of the
Show me the money.
Show me the money, right? And one of the opening scenes in Jerry Maguire, it always has flashes back to his mentor, right? And in one of the scenes, his mentor says, "You can't sell anybody until you love everybody," right? I found no statement to be more true in sales than that statement. Even though it's from Jerry Maguire, my entire sales foundation is really built off of that one line, right?
Yeah.
throughout my entire sales career, whether it was selling Cutco knives or whether it was selling timeshare or even in this world of remote sales, every decision that you make has to be based off of that. And really, it's just about building relationships, just like you and I have had, right? Making the
Right.
best interest that's best for the client and then going from there. You know, when I decided that sales was going to be for me growing up, I never thought I'd be in sales. You know, at 19 years old, I was playing football at Florida State University and I wanted to be a professional football player. Unfortunately, I was just a mediocre football player. I wasn't going to go pro, you know.
Right. Right.
So I found myself in a tough spot. In the crash of 2010, my family lost everything. We lost two houses, we lost two cars, and I went home on Christmas break and I found my family living in a hotel. You know, my family did very well growing up, and seeing them go from doing very well to living in a hotel was sort of like a shock moment. Like, what the hell just happened? You know, so I had a decision to make. I was either going to continue to play football, which was my dream, or I was going to figure out how to help my family. And that's the route that I decided to go. So I said, hey, I better figure out what the sales thing is, help my family make some money, and we'll figure it out from there, you know?
Right, right. Well, and it's funny that you say that, is that that's, a different story because, most people have this, you know, life was rough. It was hard. I got my tail kicked in
Yep.
between the ages of 0 and in 20,
Yep.
right? And then I finally found sales, or my back got pushed against the wall. you know that's interesting that you said that, is that you had a long life of sales professionals
Yep.
that really lost everything,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
How similar is that situation right now,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, this world that we live in right now, there are people out there that have gotten beat to their knees.
Absolutely.
And what about sales? I think, let's talk about that for a second, because that's something different. You go
Yeah.
from, wanting to play professional football,
Yeah.
right? And being at a collegiate level to where you have an opportunity more than most,
Yep. Yep.
right? To be able to go on further.
Yep.
Why sales?
Yeah. My options at 19 years old were pretty limited.
Okay, got it.
I was a college football player, partying, having a good time. My skill set was limited to drinking beer, right? And
Right, right.
that was pretty much it. So um, when I decided that I had to leave school, I could get a typical job, right? Serving tables, etc. You know, and nothing wrong with serving tables, but um, my options were pretty limited. I knew that I needed something that my upside was higher than just serving tables for making 100, $200 a night, you know?
Right,
So,
right.
of course, with my family being in the timeshare industry, I was like, hey, what is timeshare? Let's start there, you know?
Right.
Um, my dad had just taken over a site and the stars sort of aligned where it was just, hey, dive into this, let's figure this out and let's figure out how to make some money.
Now, when I remember timeshares, right,
Yeah.
I moved down from Michigan down to Florida and down to Orlando, Florida,
Yep.
which would almost be like the king area for like
Absolutely.
timeshares, at
Yep.
least on the East Coast, right, of the
Absolutely.
United States. And I remember working at a gym, and I was, like you said, bartending,
Yep.
serving tables, hustling, and
Yeah.
then doing sales at a gym, at a world's gym. And I remember this guy coming in and just dropping his paycheck, trying to recruit me all the time with these timeshare,
Yeah.
these monster commission checks
Yeah.
that, and this is, 2002, 2003, 2000, you know what I mean? Like, these are times to where they're different than they are now,
Yep.
but ridiculous.
Yep.
I mean, just ridiculous when it comes to the commissions that this guy was making. Like, that's a big jump. That's a big jump from, serving tables to memorizing an hour-long presentation and
Yep.
script and closing somebody that thought they were coming in to get a
A gift
free
card, a
Disney
$200
tickets,
gift card,
or anything.
Disney tickets. Yeah.
I mean, what compelled you to be able to do this out of all things? Like what?
So it was really just my lineage, right? My mother and
Yeah,
father being in timeshare, I was like, hey, let's
yeah,
I guess I'll follow in their path. Even though they weren't having great success with it at the time, that's how
yeah,
I'd grown up, right? I knew that there was opportunity, but they were on sort of a string of bad luck, and my father's career path was sort of on the down and out at the time, you know.
yeah,
So
sure.
I always sort of had this thought, especially when I was getting started, which will, I guess, get kind of deep, but that I would exceed where my father was at in the industry, right? And sort of do things that he had not been able to do throughout his career. And at 19 years old, I was like, sure, I'll get started with that because I don't know what else to do. And I'm willing to take it to the next level. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, definitely an interesting business to get started in. If you're a salesperson who's out there and you're working in timeshare and you're looking for a transition, please reach out to me.
yeah,
Timeshare sales guys, if you can have success in that field, you can have success in anything. I mean, I literally had a guy who sat down on the table with me, and his first sentence was, "What's worse, timeshare or AIDS?" And
yeah.
that's how the conversation started. I said timeshare,
Wow.
or I said AIDS. He's like, "No, timeshare. If I have AIDS and I die, it goes away. If I have timeshare and I die, it goes to my children." And then the conversation goes from there to cool. How do we get you some more? You know?
Right, right, exactly. Well,
That's how we
and
got
it's
in,
funny.
Cripes.
Yeah, well, and it's funny is that, oftentimes, and I remember this, is that the gentleman that I met in timeshare, and again, this is back in the day.
Yep.
He was a sharp, in shape looking guy, always
Yep.
dressed well, spoke eloquently.
Yep.
He was smart. He was, suave, very suave. Like, I mean, he knew what to do, right?
Yep.
And I mean, even I think Aiden, just put a comment in here. He's, like, how do you separate yourself from, the used car sales or the pushy timeshare, put your seat in front of the door and don't let anybody out until you get a commitment, until you get a question.
Yep.
You know, Moose, I would have never had a second conversation with you
Yeah.
if you or your company would have ever gave me that vibe.
Sure.
Ever. I
Yep.
would have I would have been like, see ya, buddy. Like,
Of course.
whatever.
Of course.
What do you think makes the difference? Talk to
There's,
me about that.
there's a certain amount of conviction that you have to have in what you're selling, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I'll just keep using timeshare as an example. The reason why timeshare sales reps especially get a pretty bad rep, right, is because they oftentimes don't have that level of conviction. Like, for
Yeah.
example, now that I'm more familiar with the marketplace, someday I will own a lot of timeshare. I do believe in timeshare as a product. I wouldn't buy it retail though. There's different ways that you can buy it, whether it's on the resale market to get more value from it,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
But when getting started out as a timeshare salesman, once I learned what it was, I was like, wait a minute, this sort of makes sense. And when you're in the infancy stage, if you don't ask too many questions, you sort of get that conviction and that belief where it's like, okay, cool, this is doing someone right. When it
Yeah.
gets bad rep is when you start realizing the damages that it can do, and you still manipulate the buyer to purchase that anyways. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen some pretty
Exactly.
bad things happen in timeshare. But that being said, I also have a lot of really good friends who sell timeshare, and they're not all bad guys either.
Well, and that's, I think, and you say timeshare, we just happen to really talk about it because, essentially that's where, you had your first interaction with sales. But, when you look at it, that was really kind of the first, I guess, layer that you can really think about back in our era
Yep,
of sales, whether it was car sales, and we're not, like car sales even has a horrible name
absolutely.
because because of the fast talking, slick moving, type of personality traits that come along with maybe unpolished or untrained sales professionals, or people that are using, I guess, the wrong tactics or the wrong strategy in order to actually sell.
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest thing that I thought, attracted me to you and in your company and the people that you surround yourself with, is that it was more of my style. I mean, I've been in different types of sales. We were talking about cutlery,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
going door to door sales. And,
Yep.
I mean, if there's anybody on the line that's listening, that's door to door or business to business, like knocking on, like, my hats are off to you right now, because you are what is making the world go around, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
that's a tough game. um Talk to me, I guess, a little bit about when you got into timeshare. You were successful
Yeah.
and you started that process. What happened next? How did this evolve again to where you're at right now? Because
It's
that's
a
a big jump.
it's a pretty wild career path that happened, Clinton. I don't tell my story a ton, but my career path was pretty unique. So timeshare did really well. 19, I probably did it for a year and a half, almost when I was 22. Right. Was able to help my family get back on our feet. We got a place down in Daytona Beach, and when we got a place down in Daytona Beach, um, I got a call from my buddy, and he was like, "Hey, you should finish up your college degree." Now, I didn't disagree with him. I always wanted to finish my college degree, and I wanted to finish playing football because that's what everything was centered around for me, was playing ball. In fact, right behind me, there's a picture of a kid in a Florida State helmet looking in a mirror,
Nice.
seeing himself playing football, at Florida State, and that was always me. Um, so I went back to college at 22 years old. When I went back, that's when I got into Cutco sales. I had to put myself through school while I was in school. Did
Yeah.
very well. I was a top 10 producer in 2012. Won President's Club, all sorts of good stuff. And 2 weeks before the football season started, my father had a stroke, and it paralyzed him down the left hand side of his body. You know, so now here I
Oh,
am
wow.
back in school. I've got to drop out a second time. I go back to timeshare. I'm taking care of my dad, helping him get back onto his feet. And then finally, once he's better, I go back, finish my degree, get a job on Wall Street, wholesaling mutual funds for BlackRock. And while I'm there, I get transitioned to a company where Aiden knows me from, a company called Regis. And while I'm at Regis, I get a phone call from my buddy from high school. And he's like, "Hey, I'm making Wall Street money, but selling stuff from home in my underpants. Is that something you'd be into?" And I'm like, "Sounds like Mike Mark got started in Amway."
Yeah, nice.
Turns out it wasn't any type of multi-level marketing or network marketing. It's the industry that we call enrollment sales, where small business owners need really strong sales professionals to take their inbound leads from anywhere. So I got started in the industry part-time. I was able to offset my income in about 8 weeks, went full-time into the industry. And about a year and a half, Mike brought me in-house in March of 2019 to scale up the recruitment side of coachingsales.com. So it's been a
Nice.
pretty
That's
unique journey, but that was sort of my career path to get into this world of enrollment sales.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I wanna rewind a little bit. You were talking about, getting into Wall Street.
Yeah.
Here we go from, you know, a hour presentation, right? In timeshare sales,
Yep.
to where you had to learn the script. You were using people's emotions to really, really close the sale. You were painting this picture of palm trees and wonderful opportunity. You're spending too much money when it
Yep.
comes to your vacation. You're
Yep.
an idiot if you don't buy today. Forget the
You're not
freaking
spending
Disney
enough
ticket.
time with your family. You're
Right,
selfish. You're not a good father. You're not a good
right.
husband.
So you go from timeshare to Wall Street. How
Yeah.
is that different? Let's
Gosh,
talk
oh,
about that for a second.
it's miles and miles different. But actually, the way that I was able to land the job on Wall Street was I had to do a couple of presentations. The first presentation, they said, "Sell me anything that you want." So I sold timeshare. That's what I did on my presentation on Wall Street, and they loved that. They were like, "Wait, this young kid has sold millions of dollars in real estate while he was in college. How did this happen?" Right? So they were super
Right.
attracted to that. Then your final interview, they were like, "Pick a mutual fund, any mutual fund that you want, and sell it to me and the entire managerial team." How the sales process was different though was completely different, right?
Yeah.
You're talking to a much more sophisticated buyer, which you see us talk about all the time, right?
Yeah.
You're talking to someone not on an emotional level, but on an ROI level, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a very logistical sales process, and you're really speaking to a different part of the brain. Instead of trying to get them to make an emotional decision, you're trying to show them that you have their best interest in hand at hand, and you will get them the better results than another wholesaler would.
Yeah. And that's such a different sale. I'm so
It's
glad that you
second
brought
class.
that up. I mean, you go from, a family from Indiana that are pasty white, hasn't seen the sun in 6 months.
So,
They're in there with Disney shirts on, the whole nine yards. They're ready to get their free tickets.
yep,
And they might have a little meat on the bone, so they might have some cash, and it might make a lot of sense. And like you said, I believe in timeshare too.
yep,
I think it's, when you start doing the math, the numbers do line up
yep,
to the best interest. It's
um,
just that they make such an emotional buy
yep,
that shit hits the fan, when they're not in the moment anymore, right?
100%.
But you're talking about a totally different sale. You're talking about people that don't fall
Yep,
for any sort of sales gimmicks or any sort of phrasing that may allude
yep,
right to any sort of discounts and things. You're talking ROI. You are
yep.
talking to more business oriented individuals. Talk about how that sales different for a second, because I don't think people realize sales, there's a difference between retail sales, right? To where somebody comes up and they want to purchase a shirt.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Then you ring it up. That's retail sales. That's different. You got to have good customer service. You got to be very welcoming. You got to be open. You got to love them, the whole nine yards. You don't need to ask questions. Now you're talking about a different type of sales, right? And you're really talking about more consultative. And now you're going into more presentation. But then when you're talking about Wall Street, you're talking about a totally different gambit
Yep.
when it comes to sales. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, and I'll play devil's advocate a little bit with you, Clinton, because while they are so different in the techniques that you sell,
True.
the foundation of how you sell it is really based off of the same thing. And my first sales mentor ever in timeshare gave me this hint or gave me this tip, and I loved it. He said, "Make a friend today, and you make $700," and that was my timeshare mentor, right? And I love that. But then when I was selling on Wall Street, right? If I'm selling a fund for BlackRock, right, which is the company that I worked for, right,
Yeah.
and I am trying to win a deal over a wholesaler at Vanguard, right? Vanguard's product is actually going to be cheaper, and the way the two products compare are going to be so similar that if I say, "Hey, like my product might actually lose in this battle," right? But the relationship, it comes down to, hey, because they're so similar, who's taking me out to a steak dinner? Who's taking me out golfing? Who's going to donate to my fundraiser, right? It still comes down to that make a friend and you make your $700.
Right.
While the sales tactics are much, much different, the foundation of relationship building is still the same.
Yeah. And I think building that rapport and that common interest, right? People don't buy from people unless they like you and then they trust you.
100.
Right. And those are two things to where, it's quite interesting in the game of sales that I have, and I'm sure everybody that's listening has done this in sales, is that I've damn near talked myself out of sales
All the time.
for trying to sell rather than just building a good relationship with somebody and having that connection and really truly understanding, because I think people, they want you to care about them, and people don't care about your company. They care about their problem. You just need to be a solution to their problem. Absolutely. And then they'll care about you and your company, right? Very quickly. So 100%. you were on Wall Street, and there was this probably provoking moment to where you were making good money. And this guy, Mike, came along and said, hey, look, you want to make that kind of money, but do it in your underpants, right? or in shorts, right? Or from wherever you want to. What happened there? Talk to me about that a little bit.
So I was looking for a transition in my career, right? At this point, I was at Regis as an area sales manager selling offices to small business owners, right? Again, a very logistical sales process, right? Selling B2B services. I was looking for a transition in my sales career because I had hit my cap where I was at. A lot of times, and you know this, corporations structure their pay plan to where you hit your ceiling very soon. So if I'm 300% of my target, guess what? 300 is going to get you paid the same as 120%, So
Right.
And that's actually what happened. I was at Regis. Oh gosh, maybe I shouldn't have said the company name, but that's okay.
Whatever.
I was at Regis, and while I was there, I was on stage winning a award in front of my peers for going 300% of my target, and my bonus was a 6-pack of grapefruit shandy. I was like, what?
What? That's not even the summer shandy, the grapefruit.
That's insulting.
That's like the kind that they don't sell.
I was like, what the hell? So I was looking for a way to have a higher upside, right? This was more uncapped. So the problem was I didn't want to give up my security either, right? So while I was willing to hear it out because I wanted that higher upside, I wasn't willing to sacrifice everything and give it up completely. And sure enough, I went part-time. I started off taking 3, maybe 4 calls a day after hours, right? Would take calls at 6, 7, and 8, and then on Saturday, right? And I was able to offset my income on a commission basis in 8 weeks. So it was pretty unique. But what was really fun, the sort of point of actualization for me where I loved it, was my wife and I, the first week, I made good money. And I was like, that was awesome. Let's take a trip because I still don't know if this is real. Let's see if it's actually real.
Spend the money.
Exactly. The typical salesman flaw, right?
Right. Exactly.
like father, like son.
Yep. All right. Spend it. We got it. Let's go.
So we went on a trip to Disney. We went to Disney's Art of Animation Studios. And while we were there, I was like, I'm going to take 3 calls. Because why not? It's 3 hours out of the day, no problem. I went down to the pool, took 3 sales calls, and I paid off the vacation while I was down there. I was like, this is awesome. I'm not in a suit and tie. I'm in my bathing suit, like at Disney World with Hakuna Matata playing in the background. In fact, my prospect even asked, they were like, is that Hakuna Matata in the background?
Yeah. Actually. Sorry, sir, I'm at a convention. I'm selling Walt Disney himself.
Exactly.
Wow, that's
cool.
And that's stunning. I mean, for the people that are listening or they'll listen later. I mean, wow. For me, I know when I first found out about like remote type sales work, and even whether it was contracting or whether I was finding it for my own company, I still was like, wow, what a phenomenal opportunity. You're right to just, in the last year, I know that my wife is from a different country. I'm going, when do you want to go to Europe? I mean, once they kind of lift up, some of these, parameters that we have to fall into, there's a great opportunity. I don't have to go in and punch a clock, I've taken my company virtual. Everybody's virtual. I mean, why not? That's just, what there is to do nowadays. And, it's powerful in the game of sales is that what people don't realize, I think, in the first thing, in my first kind of interaction with managing salespeople, that we're working remote, okay, is the game changed quite a bit. I had to really kind of make my decisions on managing them, leading them, and holding them accountable only based on numbers. I couldn't sit there and watch them. I couldn't look them in the eye and say, Moose, could you do me a favor and get your ass moving, please? I couldn't say, take this next call and kick ass. Here's what I want you to do. This. I mean, there's nobody in your ring.
Yep.
And I think that that's the biggest difference between remote sales and really managing a sales team from looking them in the eyes, is that everything is based on that number, which you're salespeople. So you're used to kind of schmoozing your manager. You're used to buying him a cup of coffee. Like I had this manager, and I won't name him, okay, but he knows who he is. He worked for me once, and he was, before he got promoted to be a manager, he was just a really, really great sales guy. Okay. One of those to where you didn't quite know if he would ever evolve into sales leadership, but he was just super kick-ass in sales. Okay.
Yep.
Well, he was also 5 to 7 minutes late, hands down, every goddamn day that you could possibly think of, to where after a while I was just like, fuck it, like whatever. He puts up great numbers. I don't care. I'll handle it. But you know what? After a while, he started bringing me this Cuban coffee and every day. So I would ask him, how long does it take you to get a coffee that you bring me every day, which I'm very happy that you bring this Cuban coffee to me. I'm here in South Florida, so Cuban coffee is like crack. Okay. It's like, it's really, really great stuff. And he's like, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. I'm like, okay. So you're spending 5 minutes of your day and 5 minutes of mine to get me a coffee, to not give you a hard time about being fucking 5 to 7 minutes late every day, repetitively over and over. So it's like one of those things to where remote sales, it's a different ball game. It really is. What I guess kind of advice do you have for people that, because it sounds like to me, in your career, you've had all sorts of ups. You've had maybe some challenges here or there, but they've been, it seems like every time that you've been maybe taken a step back, you've actually taken, 2-3 steps forward in that direction. Where does that come from? Because that's not normal moves.
Oh, gosh, I appreciate I appreciate you saying that, man. I'm going to go back to my foundation, right, of what drives me with everything, which would be my football career. Right.
Yeah.
Which is going to sound crazy, but when I played football at Florida State, I was 194 pounds. I was a linebacker. Are you a sports guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So as a linebacker in a D1 program, especially Florida State, I was playing against guys who were 240, 250.
Sure.
I ran a 4.6 and I ran a 5 flat.
Yeah.
Let's face it, I was not the most athletic guy in the world, but I had that Rudy dream where I accepted another college offer to go and play ball elsewhere. And one night I had a panic attack and I said, this is not my dream. I'm going to go play football at Florida State. And I walked on, right? I had one tackle in a spring game. They announced my name in front of 50,000 people. But that was my dream. And everything that I've had to get in my life, I've always had to work for, whether it was walking onto the Florida State football team, right?
Yeah.
Whether it was finding my parents in a bad situation and finding a way to make things right when I didn't have a way to make things right? Whether it was being in a long distance relationship with who's, my wife of 2 years now for 3 years, even earning my spot on Wall Street, right? The way that I got to Wall Street was I sold some guy's wife some knives, and then they said, "Hey, would you want to sell mutual funds?" I was like, "I can't spell mutual fund." Mutual funds, but I knew that I could make a lot more money than what I was making selling Cutco knives,
Right.
So I've always just had this tenacity. It comes a lot from my football background to push through and make any situation work. And I think that with the salesperson, um, once you realize, you understand this, once you realize that you're in control of your own destiny and nothing else is in control of your own destiny, you can make anything else work.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up because I think that, and I'm glad that you said it. So, let's go back to your football career for a second because, the numbers that you're telling me, I mean, those don't line up,
I know.
right? To the average numbers, right? You're much, you're much bigger, maybe you're faster, maybe you're stronger. So here we have a guy that comes in that's, above average, of course, but below the average of people coming in to be prospects.
Yep.
Okay, let's just call it what it is. Okay.
Yep.
Now, do you think that your association with that, do you think that being able to play at that level, did that kind of drive a different type of fire in your belly than something that maybe, I guess, I don't want to say it doesn't sound like anything's been given to you,
Yeah.
Essentially, besides life in general, right? That we can all be, grateful for. Do you think that you knew that you had to work
Oh,
extra?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that what kind of drove you or?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was always someone growing up. I mean, throughout high school, I was bar backing, right? And I always worked
Yeah.
with everything that I had. But I always say that getting onto the Florida State football team was my first sale, right?
Yeah.
The semester that I got there was Bobby Bowden's last semester as the head coach. I
Okay.
went into the football office. I said, "Hey, I'm here to walk on." They said, "Thanks for showing up. We're not taking walk ons this year." And I said, "Okay, great. See you tomorrow." you know, and what I used to do, me and my buddy who walked on together, we used to run from our dorm to the stadium every single day, and we would go to the football office and we would ask for Coach Elliott, who was the walk-on coach, and we would say, "Hey, we're here. We want to know when the next tryout is going to be." And they'd say, "Hey, Coach Elliott's not going to talk to you. We already told you that we're not going to do walk-on tryouts this semester." It was every single day for over a semester. And then the next semester, I just happened to get a phone call. It was like, "Reed, be here at the field at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're having tryouts, right? Be here then." Um, that was really my first sale that I ever got. And it's so correlated with everything that I've pushed for throughout my entire career. Even the tryout itself, it wasn't a matter of it wasn't a matter of running a 4.640 or benching 225 20 times. The tryout was me and 20 other individuals, right?
Right.
They said line up on one side of the field, do 10 push-ups and run to the other side of the field. Do 10 sit-ups and run back all the way down to one. If you make it out, you can be on the team. You're a linebacker. We just want you to get beat up anyways. And at the end of it, there were about 8 of us standing. So
Wow.
it's just the foundation of everything that I've ever worked towards has always been pushed through the hard things.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it sounds like a hell of a lot of horrible work,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
and I think that, there's something to be said about that is that not only, in your personal life, right?
Yeah.
In sports. And this is why I think, sports and competition is pivotal in our youth and really in our young youth and even adulthood as
Yep.
well. As I'm always looking for ways to compete against, yesterday's version, right? It's
Yep.
like, freshman Clinton is much different than senior Clinton. And it better be, damn it. Right. So
Absolutely.
you always kind of look at those things. Well, in sales, I don't know how many sales that I've gotten for not letting go.
Yep.
And what I mean by that, and what I mean by that is, just like you in your story, you were disadvantaged.
Yep.
Okay. Let's call it what it is.
Yep.
You were disadvantaged. And so you come into a situation like a bad sale, somebody that says, "Hey, to you, yeah, I don't know how you're not going to close me today." buddy,
Exactly.
old pal, right? I'm gonna let you know that this ain't even happening. It's like, I think for somebody like you, and there's probably others out there, that there's a certain fire that's burning right now, and it keeps churning up, and you're kind of you're training yourself, and you're in training right now and preparing for life. And whether that be in sales, which I think is phenomenal, that there's a lot of athletes that have gone to sales
Yep.
because it gives them that same gratification, it gives them that same determination, it gives them that same fire in their belly and in intensity, that
Yep.
when you not only close a sale but you win. And that's a win. It doesn't matter if you were on offense, it doesn't matter if you're on defense, special teams, doesn't matter if you're the bag boy, it doesn't matter what it is, it's there, and that's awesome. So where's Moose going? So now that you're here, there should be another provoking moment to where you shoot forward again. What's going on in the present and what's going on in the future?
I mean, the big goal for 2020, when I got started with coaching sales, was March 2019. The big goal for 2020 was, our mission statement was to help help salespeople land 1,000 dream jobs. We want to place at least 1,000 sales professionals into their dream career. And we well exceeded that, which was awesome. It was pretty emotional movement with what a small company we were at the time. When I came on board, it was just the three of us. Now here we are 2 years later, almost, right? And we're a team of 30. It's
Nice.
been pretty incredible growth. The direction that we're heading from here, we do still have to outline our 2021 plans. Sorry for not having a direct answer for that. uh, but I mean, 1,000 dream jobs again in 2021, it should be a no-brainer. The order list that just came through for today was like 50 sales pros that we have to hire this week. So it's like, oh my God. You
Wow.
know, I think that as far as my career path is concerned, I'll evolve from the sales recruiter, sales manager type of role more to a business operator. And there's a lot of pieces that I have to learn, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm very self-aware as to the things that I know that I don't know,
Yeah.
right? And I have to pick up those pieces of the puzzle before I can become a full business operator. But I do
Yeah.
plan on attaining those pieces as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you said something that was quite interesting in a market that we're in right now. The world has pivoted, and the world has changed. The way that sales are done, the way that business are being operated, and the influx of individuals that have come into the marketplace, it's actually quite exciting. It is really like taking, essentially all the leftovers out of your fridge and really kind of getting the crock pot out and maybe getting a knife and a cutting board and just saying, let's see what we can really come up with here. And I think that it's important for people to understand that, just like you, I mean, you're looking to fill 50 high ticket closing jobs, nationwide, worldwide, I should
Worldwide.
say, because I know that you guys deal with people outside of the United States and even
Yep.
parts of Canada as well. you know how did they get linked up with you and with Mike? And
Yeah.
I know I did things a little bit differently, and our relationship is maybe different than a lot of people that are listening now. But what can they expect, and how can they find you? I mean, I got your stuff, scrolling here as a tickler, at the bottom of the screen. But what do people got to do?
Yeah. So it's, as far as the recruitment team, it's myself. I run a team with Thomas Doing and Shannon Scheckler. If you are looking for a remote sales position, feel free to message any of the three of us, right? Believe it or not, we're in sales, right? So the hardest thing that you have to do is stay persistent with us. In a given day, we talk to about 100 different sales professionals, right? So in a week or in a month, we're interviewing about 2,000 sales professionals, right? With clients that we hire for, we could be hiring based off of anything. We could be hiring based off of gender. We could be hiring based off of race. We could hire based off of sexuality. We could hire based off of experience. Literally anything, right? So what happens too often is a salesperson reaches out one time, they'll say, "Hey, Moose, I'm looking for a sales job." They might not fit. They might not be the piece of the puzzle that I'm looking for at that one moment. But as soon as they reach
Mhm.
out, right? But they
Right.
very likely could be in 2 days from now, right? So if me or my team, if you reach out to us and we don't get back to you, um, don't just let it go to the wayside. Get back in touch with us and stay persistent, right? Go back to the football office and ask when tryouts are going to be, right?
Right.
And continue to do that every day until the semester is over. And guess what? If I'm looking for your puzzle piece and you're in my inbox, I might call you a week from today and say, "Hey, sorry, I know I've missed you, but you're who I'm looking for. Let's get in touch."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And be persistent with that. I mean, I think that, you know, whenever I've always interviewed salespeople in the past, and you'll understand this, and this, and a lot of people on the line do, is that recruiting and sales,
Yep.
you have to take one hat off and put one hat on,
Yep.
because we're all sales professionals. Anybody that communicates, anybody that recruits, anybody that hires, leaders, managers, are all salespeople in one way, shape, or form. Parents are salespeople, for God's sakes. We got to sell our kids on why we're the boss, right? The idea here is that when somebody like what you're talking about is where people are looking for these remote sales careers. And guys, let me be very, very clear here. We're talking about you being able to make a six-figure income in most cases from the comfort of your own home.
Yep.
Okay, in your underwear, as Moose calls it. You don't have to be in your underwear, but
But you could
we
be.
would request that you put it on at least. But essentially you could be making a very good living and a very good income from the comfort of your own home. But what Moose and his team need to see is your tenacity. They need to see your ability to, follow up and do the right thing. You're not just going to get hired. It's very difficult. What Moose has to go through a numbers game, just like anything else in business. If he has 10 qualified candidates, one of them is going to be the one that he hires. The
Correct.
rest of them are going to be fighting for the job and fighting for the opportunity. Right. So that's, and now, Moose, really quick before, we get off, talk to us about the business side. Because I
Yeah.
know that there's some business owners that are listening right now and watching all of this. What advice do you have for the business owners, and what kind of services can your company provide to them?
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the other side for a second.
Yeah. So as far as services that we offer a plethora of services. We offer services from someone who just has an idea of a business. That person's probably not ready for salespeople yet, right? We can
Right.
help them with their marketing, get their marketing in alignment, um, get their offer going, get it off the ground before they hire salespeople, right? All the way to, uh, you know, we do a sort of onboarded CEO process where we will take over the entire business operation if a business owner wants to pass that up to us, right?
Right.
If you need salespeople, awesome. We can hire you salespeople, and that can be the end of our relationship. But if you need sales training and salespeople, that's something that we offer as well. Really, it's not a one size fits all. We can create a solution based off of whatever it is that the business owner needs. As far as the advice that I have for business owners is to work off of data, right? It goes back to what you were saying at the beginning of the call. You have to work off of data. Too often, someone has an idea for a business, they have a product created, and they're like, "Oh, if only I would have could have salespeople to sell this product." And it's like, no, salespeople is not your solution right now. That's not your
Right.
problem, right?
Right.
So they get stuck and they don't want to look at the data. They want to just have the desired outcome. And there's not one piece of the puzzle that's going to create a desired outcome without having the other pieces in place first, you know? So
Right.
when managing your salespeople, right? If someone doesn't sell one call, you don't fire them and say, "Okay, well, it's been good, take care," right? You have
Right.
to
Right.
gather data set because you don't have that face to face interaction on a daily basis to know what the salesperson's going through, right? Are they in a slump, or are they going to convert the next 10 calls that they talk to? You don't know
Right.
unless you gather a sample size to talk to, you know? So
Well, and
hopefully
I
that
think,
answers your question.
yeah, no, and it definitely did, because I think that, business owners, they do need to think of that, because I think that when you talk about their goals, I know that, I talk with a lot of business owners, and we talk about goal setting and what's realistic and what's time bound and what can really be desired, in
Yep.
that sense. And a lot of them are like, yeah, I should probably hire, 10, 15 salespeople. And I'm just like, what did you just say? 10,
Oh,
15 salespeople. How
yeah.
many sales calls have you taken? Like, I want to tell a business owners, like, look, if you're not good in sales,
Yep.
okay, and you just, like a lot of technology companies out there,
Yep.
they are very, analytically, wow, robust, millions and millions and millions of dollars should be invested. But then when it comes across to presenting that product and selling that product, shit changes really quick. You know
Yep.
what I mean? It's like, no, I don't want to do that. Well, okay.
Yep.
Now there's different stages. And it's like I explained to my 10-year-old daughter, when we're talking about allowance and we're talking about doing work and making money, is
Yep.
that I explained to her very basically, people pay you money because they either can't do something or they won't do something.
Yes.
So they pay you to do it.
Yep. Yep.
That's it. Right. They can try. And if they're just not good at it, they find somebody to do that. And that's where these sales professionals, leaders come in to fix that challenge, or they won't. And they don't think that that's the best suitable opportunity for their time. Right. Which is
Yep.
okay too. That's all right. But both of those things, can coerce to, a great sales opportunity.
You're
So
spot on. One thing that we do look for, and just to play devil's advocate to the other side, usually with the majority of our clients, they're selling some type of info product or some type of digital product, right? So
yeah,
we always do look for proof of concept from the business owner to be able to sell that product before we put salespeople on it, right? And
right.
going back to what you're saying with the tech side of it, the example that I always give is Steve Jobs. I would not say that Steve Jobs is the Jordan Belfort of all sales. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
But when Apple was launching the iPod or the iPhone, who was launching it from the stage? Right? It
Yeah.
was Steve Jobs, the analytical guy. He believed in his product. He could still sell it. He created the proof of concept so that now the stores could go out and launch the product as well. It's the same thing. Usually, if you're selling an info product, if you're in the biz ops space, teaching someone how to
Right.
make money from online, etc.,
Yeah.
don't just sell a product because you got the marketing built out. Sell them something that you actually believe in. Too many business owners say, I can't sell this, so I need salespeople, but the whole foundation isn't built first. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's and that really, can be a lot of, to be said for you and your company and Mike and and the entire team, is that, look, you're not going to work with every company. You're
Yep.
not going to work with every sales professional out there.
Yep.
We all know that, sometimes things are not a good fit.
Yep.
And, in something that I've always liked about you guys and your company, and I'll kind of close with this, is that, I appreciate the value,
Yep.
because I think that, your organization allows for people that are like-minded to surround themselves with good, talented people.
Yep.
Eventually the cream rises to the top, right? Like when you surround yourself with winners and with champions and, closers,
Yep.
okay, it's a different swagger. It's a different ball game. And you're expected to do a certain level. And I think with your company, something that I've always enjoyed is that not only 7-figure potential, but that 7-figure, really environment.
Yep.
Okay. Both in service and in sales. And I want to be clear with that. So both on the business side, but then also on, our sales team side, right? The remote sales pro that wants a good offer. They want to make $200,000-$300,000 a year.
Yep.
You know, they come to a guy like Moose and Mike and the whole team, and you know, and then you guys find them the right company that's going to provide that
Yep.
same value.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome,
man.
dude.
You always need, you know, going back to the football again, right? You always need someone that you're chasing, and you need someone that's chasing you.
Right.
And if you don't have both, that's when you get stagnant. It's like, all right, now I'm just going through the motion. But what we've tried to create is the opportunity for salespeople, whether you work in timeshare, Cutco, financials, whatever it is, to be able to go do something else and have that environment of competition so that you're getting better every day.
That's awesome, dude. Well, listen, man, hey, we've been on here for almost an hour.
Crazy, man.
It's been awesome, dude. I had such a good time tonight. You know, chalking it up with you. As always, you know, I mean, every interaction that you and I have is always a great one. Always makes me feel good after we hang up, especially this one. So, you know, I think that, you know, anybody that, you know, look, if you're a professional, you know, sales, not only a sales leader or sales manager, but just a sales individual that can do work from remote status, man, in your underwear, okay, that this is the company to come to. If you don't like, you know, brushing your hair or, you know, doing anything like that, you just want to talk to people all day long, like, this is it. And you can make super, super good money and surround yourself with real winners and real champions. So, Moose, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for being on. You know, we're definitely going to share this, guys, just for you to know. Facebook Live, of course, but if you didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, it'll be on YouTube. We're going to download it onto iTunes and Spotify over the next couple of days. Once we go through and make sure all the audio is awesome. I appreciate everybody listening in. You know, guys, hey, remember, provoke positive change in people and in business and in yourself, man. So thank you so much
for having me, brother. This was
I
awesome,
appreciate
man. And I appreciate everything you do, not just for you know, the community, but just your relationship with me, man. I appreciate it.
You're of course, man. Anytime. Anytime.